Ready to start the
Sure.
April 10th planning and zoning meeting? Nate, you want to do the roll?
Sure. Hoffey,
Here.
Shoemaker,
Here.
Kellogg,
Here.
Gallion,
Here.
McFarland,
Here.
Schrock.
Aye.
And we did hear from Dave that he wouldn't be able to make it.
Yeah.
Right.
Any questions on the notes from the previous meeting?
Looks good.
Motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Kellogg,
Yes.
Shoemaker,
Aye.
McFarland,
Yes.
Schrock,
Aye.
Gallion,
Aye.
Hoffey.
Aye.
Nate, you want to get started?
Sure. First item for you is a variance request from Pitmaster's Pizzeria. They are utilizing the existing sign. This was previously approved at the design review board meeting last month. They didn't get the variance application in time to get it approved then, so that's why it's here now. They're 1.75 square feet over the limit, but utilizing that existing sign, so technically has to come in for a variance. So that's why it's here before you. Sent out surrounding property owner notifications and didn't hear anything from anybody. So no objections on that.
Do you need a motion? I'll make the motion to accept.
I'll second it.
Shoemaker,
Aye.
Schrock,
Aye.
Gallion,
Aye.
Hoffey,
Aye.
Kellogg,
Yes.
McFarland.
Aye.
I'll be glad to not have to take it down.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
That would be awful.
Next item, CSB submitted a variance request for their proposed new sign at 91 North Clay Street. I can't remember what all I sent you for sure. This is the existing, the freestanding sign. That's coming out, and they're putting up the black sign on the wall that is 50.6 square feet. Again, in the 32 square foot limit between this and the existing lettering at the very top of the building. That's how I came up with the 74.6 square foot variance request. That all counts towards it. So, obviously this is on, on the other end of the spectrum from a 1.75 square foot variance request, but the scale of the building, when you look at the size of the building, I think it's a appropriate sign for the building. And obviously those existing letters add quite a bit of square footage as well. So I don't have concerns with it from the village standpoint. Again, send out surrounding property owner notifications, had nothing, no phone calls or questions or anything.
I think 32 square feet of sign on that building would look ridiculous.
It'd
So
be
I'm,
like
I'm happy with the
It'd be like a
extra.
stamp.
It would.
Like a
It would
stamp,
just look
you know.
ridiculous. I'm happy that they're doing bigger signs.
Thank you. Any discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve that
I'll,
variance.
I'll second that.
Kellogg,
Yes.
Hoffey,
Yes.
McFarland,
Aye.
Shoemaker,
Aye.
Schrock,
Aye.
Gallion.
I'll abstain. But thank you.
Well, I bank there, so you know, I got
Don't
Want you
start
to know
that.
where it's at.
all your favorite customers.
All right, moving on. Adam Hirschberger's here with us. Adam's got the freight container down at 135 Fort Washington. I think you all know the history. These were previously not allowed. Took it to council at your request to see if it was something that could be considered. Council did agree that if certain conditions are met, that these could be allowable. You've got pictures of of what he's got there. I'm sure you've all been
Yeah,
there.
I've seen
I'm
it.
assuming you've been by and seen it. It's a very nice unit.
It is.
The one stipulation is it does have to be approved. Each individual one will have to come to you guys for
Oh,
approval.
okay.
So that's why it's here before you. Adam's been great to communicate with and been very cooperative. So.
I was impressed, they're a lot cheaper than the shed.
Well, you know, the way things are anymore.
I
yeah.
mean, that's a lot cheaper if you looked at some of those sheds, you can get a lot of money into one of those.
Yeah.
Mhm. And yours looks really nice.
Yeah, it looks nice.
It really does.
It does.
Yeah, yeah.
I drive by there just about every day,
Okay, yeah,
Where you put,
seems like that's like the local
Yeah.
place.
Well, to avoid the,
were you putting the skirting on the bottom of it? Looked
Yeah,
like,
I was gonna hold off till I get approval from you guys,
I
but
saw it looked like you had started, like it was,
yeah. What is that?
it looked like you had put it on the, it started to do some stuff on the bottom there.
Yeah, I set it on a foundation, yeah. Yeah, so it's all blocks and level, ready to roll.
Any discussion?
I only have one question. I know that this is the second time in, so 2 applications. He hasn't had to pay 2 fees, has he?
No.
Okay,
No.
good. I just want to make sure.
Good.
Thanks for being patient.
Yep.
Yes. And for suggesting this, or
yeah.
for us to review this ordinance. That's, most of the time, that's the only way things get done, is if people say, hey, you know, maybe you guys should talk about this or think about this. And so all of that happened because of you, so thank you.
Well, I gotta say, it was pretty refreshing to like, I looked at it and was like, man, kinda surprises me, and I wonder if we can't figure this out. And super nice to work with you guys, like, refreshing to see in a local community that we can work together and make
Yeah.
good changes.
Yeah,
Yeah. So thank you guys.
I agree.
Put that out there again, put that.
I'd offer a motion for approval.
I'll second.
Gallion,
Aye.
McFarland,
Aye.
Shoemaker,
Aye.
Kellogg,
Yes.
Shaw,
Aye.
Hoppy.
Aye,
We're good to go.
Alright, thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
You set a precedent, we'll see how many people start coming to
Yeah.
us. I mean, like I said, they're a lot less than the
I
sheds.
did.
You
I
might
did
see Robert
call,
Hoffy in here.
Okay, well, Jeff and I were like, that might be a good,
Kirk Snyder had previously asked as
Okay.
well, and I called him once the
Okay.
ordinance was passed and said, hey, it's an option again, if you
Yeah.
wanna. But he was gonna think about it.
yeah.
Adam, where do you go find those things?
Secret.
Tell us your secrets.
Have you seen the Woodside container in just a little bit up my road? So my dad actually built that. It's not that he's a builder, but he does anything that people say he can't.
No, I mean,
So he built that,
So yeah, that was one that he had, and
Okay.
then, yeah, we cut out doors and stuff, and, yeah.
no, I just want to know where you get the containers.
well,
He buys them
Oh.
directly from a guy, but I'm not quite sure where
Okay.
he gets them, yeah. Yeah, he has his ways.
That's great.
The last item I have is, I'm asking for discussion, I guess a recommendation, if we wanna consider a reduction of the minimum square footage requirement for single-family homes. It's currently 1,200 square feet in the R3 district. We've had, over the last 5 years, we've probably had half a dozen requests come in for tiny homes that are smaller than that. I approved all but one that was 300 square foot.
Yeah.
Remember that one?
Yeah.
I think the smallest we've gone is around 700 or 800 square foot. So this all came out of kind of the comprehensive plan discussion for the need for affordable housing, with the markets being what they are and construction costing what it does. The tiny home trend hasn't gone away, so I don't know that it's a trend. It may be here, it's just another option now. Do we want to lower our minimum requirement so they're not having to come in for variances all the time? If we're comfortable with it, if we've approved 800 feet, if we're comfortable with that, should that be the limit, or, What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are I would go 600. I mean, it's half, the 12.
But you already declined to 600?
It was 300.
It was,
300?
it was
300.
3 something.
Three, yeah.
Well, heck, what's a
I was the one
shed?
out-
What's a shed? I mean,
Well,
that,
this
yeah, it's that,
was 8 by 20, right?
Question, so we do build some smaller homes, and we actually just built one that's 600, that's gonna be for single family dwelling.
okay.
So if you
Okay.
guys would like to come look at that, it's actually a split model, we love
Oh,
that, yeah, cause it is set up for a single family dwelling, yeah.
oh,
Where's that at?
Berlin,
Okay.
yep.
okay. We're at Berlin.
Homes custom molding, right
Okay.
on the Centaur,
Yep.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
It's not right off the road, you gotta go into a driveway, but it's off 120,
Okay.
so yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind checking one
Yeah.
out just to kind of get a feel for it.
Would there any be, I'll call them restrictions on how many people could live in a tiny home? I mean, I couldn't see, having the whole family of
When there's a domestic
2 or 3
violence call that happens there, and
There
then
are
2
2 or
people
3
get kicked
kids
out
and-
We don't have anything now that
to live, how
we
many
don't
live
address
in.
that.
You got a lot of people that live in a trailer. I mean, I don't think how you're gonna limit how many people live in.
Yeah.
There's nothing now to address how many people can live in
Mm-mm.
What is the square footage of a trailer? I should have thought about that. What are they typically?
I always thought it'd be nice if that could be tiny homes down there.
Yeah, that would be.
would take, what, mostly 14 foot wide anymore, or 12, or what would they be?
You got some that are double wide. I mean, you got,
This says they range from 12 to 18 feet wide to 40 by 80, so 500 to 1300.
Yeah.
so 500 to 30, so 600 would be, and they're built a 600.
Yeah. Is that 2-bedroom or how's that set up?
So one
So-
master and then bunk beds and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the younger generation, because I have kids in their 30s, are smart and they're not hoarders and they're not collectors. And so they live in, my daughter's in a duplex where she's minimal, they're just living, and it's I think that I do think it's gonna be the way.
Mhm.
Well, and we live in a small village and we've
Yeah.
already had 6.
Yeah.
I think it's
that's
not,
a trend,
Yeah.
and it's not a fad,
Mhm.
you're right, it's not a,
no.
And remind me, there are rules about how many single-family structures can be on each lot,
Yeah, it's still 1 per lot.
one per lot.
Yeah.
And we would keep our minimum lot sizes
Yeah.
the way they are. We
What's-
wouldn't have a consideration of a smaller lot for a smaller home.
I wouldn't think so because the lot size is based on the existing lots of record. So I don't think you want to get into,
Splitting
Half
lots,
lots and-
yeah,
oh, that'd be a mess.
that would be a
Can
mess.
you
it's going to
imagine?
get pretty tight.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that's not a consideration for,
You don't want
Yeah,
comments.
for-
So
Tiny.
what somebody could do, and they have done, is they could come in to ask for change to a multifamily district to allow 2-3 units on one lot.
Mm.
We've had that quite a few times,
Mhm.
if that's something they wanted to do.
There'd be no reason to not be okay with this. I mean,
I don't know, I mean, they'd still have to be hooked up to
Right.
public utilities, there's no difference, just a smaller home. And if that's what somebody wants to live in, so be it.
and they're living
I
in
don't feel
Millersburg,
that
and
should
they're
be our
spending money in
business to tell
Millersburg,
them
and there's
no.
income tax, I mean, they're living here, and then
Yeah.
they're contributing back into this village.
What is an average lot, 50 by 150?
6,000 square feet is the square footage, so 50 by 150 is real close. A lot of, I said standard lot, but 49.5 for a lot of the old lots. The newer platted, like the new subdivisions, are supposed to be 60 by 100, but they aren't all, just depends on topography.
Are we aware of other municipalities who have created legislation like this, and are they happy with what's happened?
I'm not specifically, I know it's been talked about a lot.
There's a
but
lot
I
of
don't
people
know.
talking about it,
Yeah.
having subdivisions for tiny homes and things like that.
And I've watched I don't know, it's surprising me that it's taken this long, really. Has been those tiny homes.
I mean, it's more affordable
Yeah.
to build one of those as a young person just
Yeah.
coming out of college. It's more affordable to do that than,
And with the cost of utilities right now and insurances and,
Well, you get down into the 600-800 square foot range, it opens up a lot of pre-manufactured options.
how much is your 600 square foot tiny home?
You mean
The
price wise?
Yeah,
So this is the first model, like this we built, and they are pre-manufactured. And it's basically, we want to get at a point where square footage added equals price per square foot.
oh,
okay.
So this one is sold as a display, and we don't have the exact price. I'm kind of scared to say price, but they
Okay.
are very affordable. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Very affordable.
yeah.
Give me a range without you saying affordable.
I'd say in between 70 to 135.
Okay, that's affordable.
Yeah, if you
That's
would've said
affordable.
$300,000.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
For a model similar
Yeah.
that size.
yeah.
But like the Latutes,
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
some of
Yeah.
the different structures they have
Yeah.
are pre-manufactured
Mhm.
units that you just bring in.
Yeah.
You get over 1,200 square foot, you aren't really looking to do that too much. So I think that adds to the affordability when you can go pre-manufactured. Guys like him nationwide have figured out how to build these things, and
So let me ask the banker here, are people able to get loans on stuff like that?
We have a product for small,
Okay.
for a tiny home.
Do you?
At
Okay.
the bank. They're a lot like, it's weird though, because we haven't exactly figured out what class they fit in. Are they an RV? Are they trailers? Do they get a title when they move? Is it gonna be affixed
Cause you
to the
could move one of
basement?
those, could you move one of those?
So the ones we built aren't for necessarily being moved,
Okay.
our models, but what we're kind of looking for is we can get everything on a truck and then build fast.
Oh,
Okay.
gotcha.
I don't know that we've caught up with how
Okay.
we're going to secure them
Okay,
yet.
that's
Like,
what
do
I'm
they
wondering.
become part of the permanent real estate
Yeah.
of the lot? Is it something that has to be filed with the UCC? Some of them actually do have titles that come with them because they roll down the road on axles, so it's different.
Okay, and then that
We have to
property
figure
tax
out.
situation,
Yeah.
how are they gonna be labeled for,
Yeah.
as far as we're concerned, it's a part of the real estate. It's permanent real estate.
Are they gonna be affixed to a
It has to
foundation?
be, yeah.
they'd have, so we would have it that it has to be, that's what I would want, that it has to
We
be
require
fixed.
that for manufactured homes now.
But are you talking fixed to a foundation like a trailer that gets tied down and crossed,
No.
or a true block foundation?
It has to be a permanent foundation.
That's what I would want.
So like a
That-
cement
That's
pad
what I
or a
thought.
block.
That's not somebody just rolling one in.
Yep.
and-
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, those are fair points. I
And
don't-
how would you fix it to a cement pad?
How can it fix to a cement pad?
Well, the house beside, across from me is on a cement
Yeah, there's an
pad.
example of
But they
Habrins.
get built from stick. on the
Halbrins,
cement.
yeah,
Halbrins.
But
yeah,
they're built from stick on the
Right,
cement pad. You
right.
couldn't, it would be hard to pour a pad and then bring in a
Oh,
mobile
yeah, cause it's a
unit.
but it's getting built on site, right?
Yes, so ours, the first one, was like board walls, and then the second one, or blocks.
Okay.
And then the second one is gonna be painted,
Okay.
And you're gonna build it on site into the pad.
yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
Cause you gotta think about, yeah, all that has
Yeah,
to
it's gotta be written.
That
It's
has
gotta
to
be-
be
Yeah. It's
so,
gotta be
or we're
clear.
gonna have people in here saying we weren't clear enough, and they
Yeah.
like to do this.
We wanna keep wheels on
And
it.
we didn't,
Yeah.
and,
Is there any existing ordinances that would prevent that?
well, we're.
Just the square
the
footage in the
square
current
square
ordinance.
So let me ask you, I mean, there's limited, I've always wondered why the land up there by, that Rhonda Stamos tried to sell, I've always wondered why that couldn't have been turned into a, are you in a situation, zoning and planning issues of somebody's got a real big home, and then there's a lot next to it, and they wanna put a little home. Would those people around have say in that? Have you ever been to Apple Valley?
Yeah,
That's a mess out there.
yeah.
They didn't do like Buckhorn. So you've got a mansion and you can have a little crackerback box here, and you can have like Buckhorn, you couldn't really do something like that. So do you see what I'm saying? You're gonna,
The only time neighbors would have input is if they're requesting a variance.
so nobody would really have any say if they've got this big luxurious home and a lot got sold and a tiny home went next to it.
Unless they wanted 300 square feet, and then they would get a note, and then they could tell us that that's not what
So I
they
think we
wanted.
have to be careful about what the minimum square footage
I
is.
agree.
I understand they're building a 600 square foot
Yep,
home.
yep.
The previous
Yep.
planning and zoning, the first one we approved, I think was in that 800 square foot range.
It was,
and
it
we
was
used
800.
that as our kind
As
of,
the benchmark,
you know, if.
So it fit in, if there's a bigger home next door, it
It's still gonna
wasn't.
be smaller, but it's not gonna be,
Yeah.
you know.
You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Apple Valley is,
I think I would want an ordinance that even if it's, you know, a tiny house, it's gonna affect the value of the bigger house.
that's what can happen.
Yeah,
That is what can happen. That is what can
That
happen.
can happen now to some degree
Yeah.
too, though. If,
You can put it
if
12.
somebody goes and buys 3 lots, puts a 6,000 square foot home on it, and then the house next to him is 1,200 square foot home.
Yeah, he's right.
There's nothing we do about that.
I just can
No.
anticipate people complaining.
but I mean, if someone's considered a tiny home, I think they should have their own area.
Mm.
You couldn't put it in the regular neighborhood or whatever. I mean,
But it's limited. That's why I said I wish that there's areas of
Well, it would
development.
need to be in an area that doesn't, I mean, you're not gonna buy a house and tear it down and build a tiny home. People aren't gonna do that. But
There's
if
limits.
there's land available,
Right.
then
Yeah.
that's a
Let it
possibility.
start. That's why I said that land up there would have been that
Yeah.
would have been neat if you could put a little development back in there of tiny homes and.
Mhm.
You would almost, but we're not really helping anybody then, because you'd have to create a new residential district, and
Right.
where's that gonna
You're
fit
right.
at inside of the village?
Right.
You're right.
Right,
You're right.
You know, so it's like a ordinance that does nothing until somebody would buy a chunk
Yeah.
of land and ask you guys to zone it that way.
right.
So if a lot comes up available in the neighborhood, wherever, and we approved a little home like that could be there, and somebody says, well, I don't want that, my house is 3,000 square feet, and I've got a house that's gonna come in at 800. They really don't have say, they wouldn't have say.
Well, here's the
If
other
they
thing.
feel that strongly
They're not
about it.
gonna use, for real estate purposes, they're not gonna take a 300 square foot house and a
Yeah.
3,000 square foot house and make them equal. They're not gonna do that.
They're gonna be comparables.
That's not a comp. So
But you see what I'm saying.
I understand what
I
you're
can
saying
see
as
it.
far as neighbors, but I don't have control over who moves in next door to
either,
me.
Believe me.
you know?
I've dealt with it,
So-
believe me, I just dealt with it.
Yeah, I mean,
I
so
dealt
what
with-
do you do?
I
I
look
mean,
out when things get better around me.
I
yeah,
would have a big problem with the valuation. Somebody comes in, you know, you got your 3,000, 4,000 square foot house. Somebody comes in with a 600 square foot house, I'd be pissed.
but they're not gonna use that as a comp for my house. For when they, if I wanted to put my house up for sale today, they're gonna look all the houses in Millersburg that are the same square footage of mine and how much that
They
they're
don't go
worth.
by your
So
neighborhood.
would somebody who would want to buy that size of a house, would they buy it at that price if there were
Surrounding,
too small ones?
right.
It's not.
Yeah, I don't know
The
that,
value of the home is both what it'll appraise for, but what it'll also
but what it'll sell for.
Well, I know
That's
when
correct.
I've had my house appraised, they will take into consideration the view, and they will take into consideration everything around. That's from a bank appraiser. They do take that into consideration. I mean, they really do.
I think it would be helpful for me if, because I know that we have approved several of them, to have sort of a listing of what those were,
Okay.
and
Okay.
the square footage associated with each of those, that I would be able to go and kind of look at and say,
That's a good idea.
okay, here's what this one looks like, and that was the square footage.
I
Here's
like
what
that.
this one looks like, and that was the square footage. I'll be driving by the
That's-
600 square foot one.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I'd be very curious to see what you guys think, cause
Like
it's
to
a
see
bit
it.
higher structure.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, I'd
Okay.
love to get in contact with you, and it's furnished out, so.
Oh.
Yeah, if you could maybe share it with Nate, and he
Yeah.
can share with us when
You
we
can't
could
actually
view
see
it.
it from the road, but it's.
If you
not
guys
a
could get
quarter mile.
pictures.
Well, and then that would give us some time
Yes.
to do some research on what
Yes.
other towns do.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'd like to
in-
know if
in
there
this-
are others that have done it.
There's
and
gotta
they're
be.
Yeah,
like-
that's what I'd
Yeah.
like to
There's
know.
gotta
There's
be
got
other
to be.
towns. There's gotta be.
Yeah,
Even if
there's-
it's not in Ohio, even if we could just find.
Right.
There was a little TV show about little,
There was tiny
Tiny
homes,
homes.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
yeah,
watched them, I watched
Oh, I've
them
watched
build it,
many
I
of
thought it
them.
was neat.
yeah.
I was ready to sell every knickknack and then I didn't. Not ready, not ready, not ready.
Well, I would like to know if other communities have ordinances, you know, about square footage,
Mhm.
that they can be put next to each other or whatever.
Okay. So if they're required to be in specific zoning district.
Mhm.
Mhm.
You know, just by zoning, you can only have 3,000 square foot house, or whatever in this area, or
Right.
And then his question about how does it get as far as,
Does it have to be on a block basement or a poured basement, or how's it
Yeah.
titled, is it real estate, you know?
That's more county issue though, we don't do any of that.
Well, it
Yeah.
certainly is, but you wanna be concerned about that on your village lots in terms of what do you want it to turn into, right?
It's gonna have to be on a permanent foundation, period.
yeah, it can't
As
be
far
moved.
as.
Yeah, it can't.
That we're
Are you
agreeing
gonna
on,
allow
right?
somebody to
It
The
can't be.
only, the R4 zoning district allows mobile homes.
Okay.
Mhm.
None of the others allow.
Any of that.
They
Yeah.
can't be moved.
Mm-mm.
So that ends that, and then nobody can worry
See,
about.
that used to be the big thing on the unibuilts and the trailers.
Oh, unibuilts, I remember that.
And they had the big thing that, okay, it's a unibuilt, and you gotta take the wheels off of it and set it on a foundation. But they can still come back in, split the thing up, put the wheels back under it,
Sure.
and haul it away. So there was a big difference between that and the trailers.
Mhm.
And there should be some kind of an ordinance someplace on those two variations.
I remember unibuilt when I came here, they were down.
I mean, we moved a house on Jones Street.
Yeah.
You can move it.
Oh, that's true, you can move a house.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Good point.
Yeah, I think as long as it's required to be on a permanent
Traditional
basement,
foundation,
foundation,
of some- yeah.
it's fine.
Mhm.
What I was thinking though, Dave, I think it's Department of Commerce got involved in that
Yeah,
back when Fowler was
yeah.
still
Well, that
involved.
right across from the garage out there.
And it
that-
changed.
That was a
Yeah.
deal where they split that off, moved it out. It was on wheels, and they took the wheels off. You could buy those big wheels,
Right, it's like a running
reset
gear.
the trailer on there and take it away.
Yep,
So, yeah.
Well, so, your sister lives behind you. Is that considered a mobile home that she's in?
No, she's in a mobile home.
So how did that happen? We have homes that up in his
Those are-
neighborhood, there's
There's-
mobile homes.
Those-
Right, grandfathered in, I
yeah,
would
those
assume,
have been there
So you
since
couldn't do that again?
whenever, they can be replaced, but
Okay.
you couldn't bring
A new one into
Okay.
it.
like a new into an old, or a vacant lot. or
Okay.
whatever.
So, say like, my neighbor couldn't just wheel in a mobile home and put it
Right.
in their backyard.
Right.
Okay.
That would be the same with these, they just couldn't, like, put one down in their backyard.
Say that again.
Would that be the same for these, for tiny homes, if, say, somebody's already got their house, and then they decide to put a tiny home like in
They
there?
couldn't.
They couldn't do that.
Okay.
without coming-
They'd have to come here. The Strausses did that. They lived in Lisa's grandmother's house and they built a tiny home and they're gonna tear down that house eventually, but
Oh.
they had to come before this board.
Okay.
Kevin came before this board.
I think we can get this figured out. And then we have every answer.
Mhm. Yeah.
Till the next.
You got it.
question.
'Cause all the weird stuff is gonna come.
Till somebody comes in here and we didn't think that one through and we don't have that answer.
So we table this until our next
Yeah,
meeting
well,
and,
I'll get working on
Brent and you are gonna
information.
get things and we can see things and.
yeah.
Yep.
That'll be good.
That's all I had.
Okay, anything else from anybody? Motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.